thank you for listening to my episodes till date. I shared about our strong beliefs, relationships, burning our ego, separation and illusion, inequality, finding clarity in life. I have more topics to share we can relate to in our life. Once again, thank you for your feedback, and I do really appreciate. In this episode, I'll focus on why the longest journey we'll ever make in our life is from our head to the heart. The source we're all seeking is in our heart, where we all meet as one and don't judge. Yet, our minds and heads are limiting us. We are giving more preference to our heads rather than understanding the magic of our hearts. Let's first understand the nature of mind and heart. To understand mind, we need to look into 16 dimensions of mind, which fall into 4 categories. Number 1, intellect is our buddhi. It is discerning or discriminatory dimensions of the mind. Number 2, memory is our manas. It is the accumulative dimension of the mind which gathers information. Number 3, chitta is our awareness which is beyond both intellect and memory. Number 4, ahankara is an aspect of mind from which you derive your senses of identity. Intellect is crucial for your survival, but intellect is becoming a barrier because you keep it constantly dipped in the accumulative part of the mind, which is your memory. Most of us are still stuck with first 2 categories, the intellect and the memory, instead of focusing on awareness, which is the window to our heart. Human mind is manufacturing a million ways to suffer. Once you're no longer identified with your mind, you are free to experience life beyond limitations. Being aware means you have become a witness to your own intellect, who has transcended intellect, discriminatory, and logical dimensions of life. The mind turned inwards is the self. Turned outwards, it becomes the ego and all the world. The self exists without the mind, never the mind without the self. Heart is the core of one's being, the center without which there is nothing whatsoever. The heart is from which thoughts arise, on which they subsist, and where they are resolved. The thoughts are the content of the mind, and they shape the universe. The heart is the center of all, the consciousness which is the real existence, and which doesn't go out to know things other than self alone, is the heart. The universe is just a play of 5 elements: water, fire, earth, air, and ether. Once you are in touch with your awareness, which is nothing but your heart, you don't have to try to accomplish anything. The best possible thing that can happen to you will happen. Once you distance yourself from the compulsiveness of your own genetic and karmic information, life becomes unburdened, flexible, and effortless. Pure consciousness of being is the heart. From heart arises I am as the primary point of one's experience. I would like to share my own personal life example on following heart versus head. In the early 2000s, when I was in my 20s, I received 3 photos of girls in the postal mail. They were each wearing a sari, a traditional South Indian garment made from a long unstitched drape, and were posing for the camera with tense, forced smiles. On the back of each photo was the amount their parents were willing to pay in dowry if I agreed to marry them. Dowry is the amount of property or money given by the bride to her husband on their marriage. As the eldest son of an Indian family, I was already under incredible pressure to get married. Arranged marriage is still common and part of Indian culture, driven by tradition and helped by its low divorce rate. The criteria considered when arranging a marriage and calculating a dowry are mostly religion, caste, culture, profession, status, horoscope, physical appearance, and age. On top of this, unfortunately, skin color plays a significant role. One of the matches was the daughter of a friend of my late father. His family was prepared to pay the equivalent of 1 million Australian dollars in dowry, as well as hand over ownership of their high-end various businesses. My parents were keen for me to accept this offer, and to my uncles and family and friends, it was a no-brainer. Everyone assumed I would accept. They were shocked when I didn't. I was already in a relationship at that time, and it was obvious to my partner and me that my family had no idea who I really was, or they wouldn't have sent the photos in the first place. Most Indian men would have taken the match with the highest dowry and done what their parents expected of them. The most important thing for me, however, was to go with my heart. I still remember thinking, I can get a bed made of pure gold, but not a peaceful or pleasant sleep. Not for a moment did I consider choosing money and status over freedom. With that one choice, my life course has changed completely. The process of making that decision and going against the interests of my family taught me to be strong enough to follow my heart. The pressure was immense, like carrying huge mountains. My decision was like going against big waves of tsunami. But for me, freedom means being able to reject the leadership of the majority and not follow popularity if I don't feel like in my heart. I learned that each of us are unique. We are unique individuals. And that knowing our true self is a part of our purpose in life. Also, what I learned from that experience is the heart that gives gathers. Stillness is the ruler of movement. The world is a spiritual vessel and can't be controlled. Trying to control the world, you won't succeed. Those who control fail. Those who grasp lose. Vast is the difference between holding and being held. You hold only what you love. What you hate holds you. Avoid being held. Whoever can't find a temple in their heart, the same can never find their heart in any temple. The most beautiful moments in your life are the moments when you're not thinking about anything. You are just being. Thought has certain clarity, certain agility about it, whereas emotion is slower. Thought and emotion create conflict between head and heart. Emotion is just the juicier part of the thought, largely the thought that leads to emotion. Thought and emotion are like sugarcane and its juice. Thought is not as intense as emotion in most people experience. People whose thought is very deep and don't have many emotions are really deep thinkers. They think and see their true self or heart beyond mind or head. When the room is dark, a lamp is necessary to illuminate and for the eyes to see the objects. But when the sun has risen, there is no need for a lamp to see the objects. To see the sun, no lamp is necessary. It is enough that you turn your eyes towards the self-luminous sun. Similarly with mind, to see the objects, the reflected light of the mind is necessary. To see the heart, it is enough that the mind is turned towards it. Then the mind loses itself and the heart shines forth. The I thought is the all-important thought, personality idea, the root or the stem of all other thoughts. Each idea or thought arises only as someone's thought and is not known to exist independently of the ego. The ego, therefore, exhibits thought activity. The second and third persons, he, she, they, you, that, etc., don't appear without to the first person I. Therefore, they arise only after the first person appears. So, all the first, second, third persons seem to rise and sink together. Trace the ultimate cause of I or personality. When the mind unceasingly investigates its own nature, it transpires that there is no such thing as mind. The mind is merely thoughts. Of all the thoughts, the thought I is the root. Therefore, the mind is only the thought I. This is the pursuit of wisdom. I gained a better understanding of how thought and emotion create a conflict between our head and heart. Thought has certain clarity, whereas with emotion it takes time. The distinction between me and my mind is the first step to freedom. Don't be scared by the fears in your mind. Be led by the heart. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly, which is invisible to the eyes of the mind. Understanding how our mind functions enables us to better handle stress and anxiety through an awareness of self, connecting with our heart. Awareness is not something that we do. Awareness is what we are, our heart. Once we are in touch with our awareness, we don't have to try to accomplish anything. The best possible thing that can happen to us will happen. When heart speaks, head simply follows, without any objections. We all experience this when we are falling in love with someone. We simply fall in love. Nothing stops us. and we are ready to climb 7 mountains and swim 7 seas to reach the love. The one within you who can observe your own thoughts is your heart. Trust your heart. Follow your heart. Listen to your heart's inner voice. Don't care about what others think. I stress this once again. Don't care about what others think or try to meet society expectations if you don't feel it in your heart. In this episode, I focused on our head versus heart, and the longest journey we will ever take is from our head to heart. In my next episode, I'll share about energy, our spiritual energy generated by our inner self, and why we are nothing but energy. Thank you for listening to my podcast, Conscious Living. Experience the joy within you. Please check out my book, The True Self. Unlock the chaos in you. It is a timeless journey of teachings from across history and all cultures. A personal journey through universal wisdom. The book is available on Amazon in majority of the countries across the globe. Please subscribe to my podcast, Conscious Living, at Spotify for my next episode. Take care of yourself.